Good morning. Meteorologist Lisa Green here with an update on our wildfire smoke. We continue to, of course, deal with poor air quality. The smoke is going to be a factor for us through the day today, and it does continue on as we work our way into the weekend. So we're going to pull up our air quality alert, full screen. You can see it covers all of our counties in Minnesota. Again, North Dakota does not have air quality alerts, but we do have poor air quality for today as well. And expanding the view, again, this is something that has spread into other parts of the Midwest. That smoke has really pushed southward, so the extent of it is quite far south, in fact. So let's take a look at our current air quality. It's in the unhealthy range. This has remained unchanged. It's been like this since this morning when I started the valley today at 4:30. We've had areas in the red, a few areas in the west in the orange category, Fargo, Grand Forks, back into northwest Minnesota. And again, this is widespread, just to show you the scope of it. Many places all the way down through Missouri, northern Oklahoma, at least in the orange category, in that unhealthy for sensitive groups category. And then there are some places in the general unhealthy category down toward St. Louis, toward Iowa, back over into eastern parts of Kansas, and some northern pockets of Indiana, and back over into Chicago. So the smoke has spread south quite a bit, and that's going to have some implications for us as our wind direction changes. Even as the wind turns southerly, it's bringing in air that is now also filled with wildfire smoke south of us. So it's going to be hard to sweep that out when we don't have that fresh air coming in. And taking a look at our satellite map here, you see those gray areas? I'll point these out to you again. If you were watching yesterday, we went over this. This is our visible satellite picture. And so it shows both our clouds, and it also has a radar on it too, you can see there. But those bright white areas, those are the clouds. And then these gray plumes that look wispy, they almost look like cirrus clouds above, kind of feathery like that. That's actually the wildfire smoke that our black and white channel on our visible satellite is showing here. So it's, of course, big fires burning in the northern part of Canada, and then the smoke just wafting south and east from there. And it's just been hanging out over the valley for a while now, because we've had this high pressure system overhead that hasn't brought any steering to this smoke. It's basically just kind of held it in place, and if anything, made it worse when we were on the east side of the high, and we're still getting a little bit of northerly flow going on. Again, so watching that smoke wafting southward into other parts of the Midwest as well, and it continues for us today too. So here's a look at our sky cam again in Fargo, looking very murky here today as we take a look at that full screen view another morning where we are on that low visibility side. A reminder, this view is live. It's coming from our tower cam here at the station. It's about 200 feet off the ground. So that can be a little varying from what's actually at the very low end of the surface, and that first 5 to 6 feet where a lot of us are. But it does help to show distance, and this is looking about 2 miles away, and you can see visibility is reduced toward downtown. Fergus Falls, this is a DOT cam I've been watching a lot. It kind of helps to show some perspective of the smoke in the distance there as folks are traveling along I-94. And again, we want our visibility reports to come in at 10 miles. That's the maximum, and Detroit Lakes is the only report coming in at that range. Most places are 5 miles or less. On the map. In Grand Forks, we're at 2.5 miles. Visibility in Fargo is at 5. So still dealing with that smoke. Here's something I wanted to go over. We've been talking about the change in wind direction as that high moves east. We get return flow, or flow out of the south from what the air that rotates around that high in a clockwise form. And so we've been watching for that south wind to kick in, and we are starting to see southerly winds, but they haven't been that strong. And as we make our way into the afternoon, these are our gusts. So wind speeds are less than this. Steady winds are less than this. But you can see that we've got some gusts getting into the teens, maybe a couple of times into this evening around 20 miles per hour. Even though it's coming from an area that also has wildfire smoke, I'm hoping just the wind in general may help to kind of mix out a little bit of the higher concentration of smoke. Not a guarantee, but it's something that at least is a change and is looking a little more promising. This continues again into tonight, And then taking a look at Saturday, we're still looking at some areas where we've got some direction from the south and some gusts getting into the teens and 20s into Saturday morning for wind speeds and gusts. And then this generally continues into Saturday evening. So again, at the surface, we're seeing the wind pick up a little. We're seeing wind coming in out of the south. But again, the problem is that we also have wildfire smoke south of us, as we just saw on those maps. Air quality reports are bad in those areas too. I'll show you that in just a moment. But you can see on our surface smoke map here, again, a reminder, we don't want any color on the map. Any color indicates or shows that we have some smoke in the air. And as we work our way from the morning into the afternoon, you can see some areas seeing slightly higher concentrations, but notice this plume right here. Notice where it's coming from as I move into tonight. This is 11 o'clock this evening. Overnight, that's lifting northward. Again, we're seeing that southerly flow, and because there's smoke south of us, some of these plumes are kind of rotating their way back through. And this is 7 a.m. on Saturday, so again, probably dealing with that smoke and potentially still being in the red category on Saturday morning. Moving on into the afternoon and into the overnight hours and into Sunday, this is when I'm hoping to see some improvements. This is Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Everybody's in the blue, which that's good, and I'm hoping that can continue. This is as far out as this particular model goes. So it'll be something we'll be watching into the weekend. With Sunday, we'll also be seeing increasing chances for rain with our next system coming in, which I'm hoping will help to improve things as well. So Blues Festival, it's looking really pleasant aside from the smoke. I'm going to go over this in just a second. We'll pull that up, and then I'm going to grab that view of the air quality that I was telling you about. So you can see what I'm talking about with the air quality reports coming in. So we're in the red. This is again from the AirNow site, or fire.airnow.gov if you want to look it up yourself. But anywhere where you see red here, that's where we've got conditions that are in that unhealthy range. So it's slightly better over here toward central and western North Dakota. We're in that orange category in places like Bismarck. We're checking in Bismarck here. We're at 132 for air quality, and we've been in the orange for a while, as you see in that trend. But over toward Fargo, we've been in the red for a while, as you see in our trend here, currently at 159 in that unhealthy range. And same thing over toward Detroit Lakes, and same thing up toward Red Lake, and a sensor at Grand Forks also in the red, even higher too. You can see that 181 there. That's higher than Fargo's 150-ish. And so a little bit worse off in Grand Forks. Devil's Lake, the sensor there, that again it's not associated with the EPA, so they do not include it in their map. That's why we say that on that map, at least, that we show you that there's no data. So again, it's still, tough, but it's improved out to the western parts of North Dakota, and for some of our communities out west. I used the wrong button there. I'm gonna just show you those sensors, what they're reporting again, into Oklahoma and Missouri, southern Illinois, the St. Louis area. That's where all that smoke has expanded to. So a pretty significant event here for many places in the Midwest. So again, now we're taking a look at our Blues Festival forecast for today. Midday, we're looking at temperatures into the 70s, but by the afternoon, we're warming up into the low 80s. For first day of August, I think these are pretty comfortable temperatures. We'll have some sun mixed in with a few clouds, and by the evening, for the evening concerts, we'll be back into the 70s too here, around 8 p.m., around 75 degrees with that south wind we were just talking about. But, comfortable, dry, that's great. Not too windy out there either. Just enough breeze to help keep you cool, hopefully. But again, it's the smoke that's going to make it not as pleasant or perfect as it could be. So that's the Blues Festival for today. And let's take a look at the full weekend. Saturday, I think, if you are going to the Blues Festival on Saturday, make sure you at least have some type of rain gear with you, whether it's just grabbing an umbrella, having a poncho, something like that, just in case one of the isolated showers we're looking out for the weekend pops up. So that's for Saturday. It's going to be more likely in the evening, but we are looking at that possibility even in the morning hours in southeastern North Dakota. What will be happening is, we'll start to see more improvements in our smoke heading through the weekend. And then Sunday, mostly cloudy with more thunder showers possible. The good news here is I know we had severe weather concerns last weekend. I'm not looking at severe weather this weekend, but thunderstorms still are something to take seriously. You don't want to be standing out in a thunderstorm with the lightning threat. So that's the weekend planner. Here's a look at our 3-day planner. Again, the Blues Festival today and tomorrow. Cool on Sunday, 75 for your high with that chance for thunder. And then moving on into next week, getting more active. Monday and Tuesday, a chance for some storms. And again on Thursday, and then kind of leading into Thursday, on Wednesday as well. So each day there is a possibility of rain and thunder. It doesn't mean it's going to happen every single day in your hometown, but it's a possibility somewhere in the valley. And some of those storms could be a little stronger. Again, Tuesday and then again on Thursday. And then those days heading into the second half of next week, that's WeFest time. We know, it seems to be the story every year that there's at least one day at WeFest where we got to keep an eye out for weather. So we'll be watching that for you and getting you more detailed forecast as we get closer for anybody planning on attending WeFest or if you know somebody heading out there. And then over the weekend, back into the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. So overall, the forecast, not too bad. It's just that it's smoky, and that's going to continue today. Today's day 4 of our extended stretch of wildfire smoke and of air quality alerts. Tomorrow is when, on 5 p.m., unless that's changed, and I haven't, I should have checked that, but we're looking at 5 p.m. unless that's been extended for the air quality alert in Minnesota on Saturday. It's possible we could see the smoke linger, but what I'm hoping for is at least to get some improvements in the next couple of days here. And we'll be seeing that chance for some rain as well coming up into the weekend, especially on Sunday. So be sure to check the VNL weather app and check on that radar as you are going about your weekend, and so you don't get caught by surprise by any showers that pop up. And be ready for an active week to return next week as well. So yes, we have the smoke, but it's been nice to, over the last several days, not have to be so concerned about severe weather. So I hope you have a great Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. And again, if you're sensitive to smoke, just make sure you're taking those precautions and taking breaks if you're going to be out at events. I know we have the Blues Festival, but it's also the Renaissance Fair. I know there's lots of other things going on this weekend. So if you're going to be out at any of those, you can recover from it by going inside and getting into some cleaner air for a while. So make sure you're doing that from time to time just to take care of yourself, especially if you're sensitive. And again, I hope you have a wonderful and safe weekend coming up here, and happy Friday.